What's up, class? This is Mr. Hatchell. I am going to show you guys how to do a radial brush symmetry in Photoshop relating to the playing card self-portrait. You guys have used the radial brush, but if we set things up right, you can draw a trace of your photographic face for whichever card you're designing, and you can get the opposite end down here. The first link that you guys have shows you how to design one half of the card, then duplicate all those layers and flip it. This way we're going to try out drawing it all in at once, at least the faces. So I have a couple of photo layers, and I have an example of each of the different playing cards. Some require a profile pic where the picture is looking all the way to one side. The other is more of a three-quarter pose where you can see most of the image. I think I'm going to start with, I'll do the either the Jack of Spades or the Jack of Hearts. Those are both looking sideways. Now I have a profile pic and a three-quarters view pic. If I want to do the Jack of Hearts, I'm going to have to flip on the horizontal axis. Actually, maybe the vertical axis I got to flip it on. But in any event, I need to flip my profile view around so it's facing the other way. So let me press Control-T, and then I will right-click and tell it to flip horizontal. Yep, it's horizontal. Okay. So I'm really only interested in my head and shoulders. So I'll shrink this down. Probably better to have it a little too small than not than a little too big, because it'll prevent me from having to do transformations with the free transform tool later on. So I'm going to press B for brush, and I'm initially going to change my foreground color to something bright, like kind of a blue. If I want to have black line work or any other color line work, I can do that. But I'm going to, on this layer named Radial Drawing, I'm going to zoom in just a touch, and I'm going to press B for the brush tool, and then I'm going to go to the Radial Symmetry. I'm going to ask for radial. I want only two segments, okay? And it's going to present me with a line. I just need to rotate that line along the axis that I want to flip it on. I think something like this could probably work. Let's see. Give it a try. Now, whatever I draw, let me zoom all the way out so you can see. Whatever I draw on here with the brush, I do a trace around the image, you can see everything that I'm drawing up top is being repeated down below. And I think my brush may be a little too thick, to be honest, but we'll give it a go just so you can kind of see how it's working. All right, we'll define the hair in detail later on. Okay, go ahead and define the beard and the mustache. I'm going to zoom in a touch. Go ahead and get the remainder of the neck. I don't know if I'm going to keep my modern clothes or not. I may end up wanting to do something different. And I'm not super thrilled with this line quality, but for the sake of the demo, I'm going to go ahead and keep pushing onward. I would probably want to make sure that I am using a 100% firm brush tip. Yep. And about the only other thing I would need to look at is whether or not I am truly in a high resolution document. I probably should shrink this down even more so. All right. Now that was like a quick and dirty version, right? Let me go ahead and hide the profile view so you can see that we have our top and bottom now reflecting one another. That is what we want. Then from here, I can freestyle in whatever I want to do in terms of the body. Now, if I look at the Jack of Hearts, there's both an axe and a feather. I mean, obviously you could update that with something more modern if you wanted. But let me go ahead and take another peek. All right, I'm going to have the shoulder come off and then a little hand out there. So go ahead and maybe design like a little collar. I need this to be a little thicker. the shoulder come off. Yoink. Come down like that. And then like that. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and have, let's see, I'll have a hand maybe coming up. That doesn't look terrible. You can always erase, because the eraser, that eraser brush can use radial symmetry as well. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and try to draw a hand. I could bring in a reference photo, but for this sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of loosely draw a collection of fingers and a thumb. And we'll have kind of that quill shape. It's happening top and bottom. And the axe is kind of oddly enough, it's like disembodied. There's no arm holding it. I think I'm going to go ahead and change that a little bit. I'll make it look like maybe the arm is coming down to here. Go a little lower and curve back up. Ooh, that might be fun. We can have an axe. Ooh, yeah, that's what I'll try to do. All right. So I've got my hand in my other hand, and then I'm going to hold the shift key to create a straight line. Make it look almost like kind of a lumberjack thing. He's got the axe slung over his shoulder. I'm going to make it look like a baseball bat or something if I wanted, but go ahead and continue that line downward. All right, so now it comes the job of cleaning things up. I've done a bunch of lines over themselves. And there's still details left to bring in. But if I grab E for the eraser, as long as I'm using a firm brush with 100% hardness, I'll be able to clean some of these lines up. Let me go ahead and save what I have so far. But I can make sure that the overlapping areas are taken care of the way I want. The axe is kind of slung over the shoulder. Right. The hand is in front of the axe. That's kind of a fun effect because now everything's like interwoven. Clean that up. And B for brush. Have the sleeve come down, maybe have some like wrinkles in the sleeve. Have that come back up. Yep. Cool. Shift click between clicks to kind of make my straight line. Again, I'll just kind of reinforce that. The axe head, again, when you have the radial symmetry, you could draw down here and it'll repeat it, or you can draw up here and it will repeat it. So I've got kind of a fireman's axe looking thing. All right, saving it, looking good so far. I got to clean up what's going on with my collar here. I don't really know what I want to do. And also, I'm going to have to eventually bring in some design elements to repeat. You'll notice that there are chevrons or hearts, spades, all sorts of different things are repeated in the clothing of the figure. I'll go ahead and give myself a collar. I'm going to need to give myself kind of a crown or a hat of some kind. So I think I will go ahead and draw that in. I'll just give it a moderate amount of overlap with my head. And then I'll save it, of course. Let's take another peek at what's going on. All right, so the Jack of Hearts is kind of a flat top crown. Go ahead and hit E for the eraser. Now, if you wanted to modernize your design, give yourself a baseball cap or a fedora or whatever you like, really. I'm going to go ahead and keep the general idea of that kind of valet's fancy hat from the old school designs, and then I'm just going to play in here with making some straight line segments. Curve that around, and then a straight line back down. Come up, curve that around, straight line back down. Whoop. Kind of neat. I need a point on this end. Alright, cool. So, I could try to make it look like there are locks of hair going somewhere. This is a fairly low-res version of the jack, but if I were to go to my internet, and I'll just look up Jack of Hearts. Could just hit the home button. Jack of Hearts card. What do we have here? Okay, so the Jack of Hearts card has some cool geometric details happening. There's repetition of curvy lines, dots. The color scheme is overwhelmingly primary in most cards that you'll come across. Some don't have blue, some are just yellow, white, red, and black. Feel free to use any color scheme you like, just try to be deliberate. And if you don't have a specific idea for a color scheme, I would definitely say go with the primaries. Okay, so we've got the feather, we've got the axe. We probably ought to throw some detail into the hair, start adding some color. Okay, so one of the things that you can do is you can bring in the shapes. You'll see in my layers window I have a spade, a club, a heart, and a diamond shape. Those are found in Photoshop underneath the custom shape tool. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to window and ask for your shapes window. And most of you will see wild animals, leaves, boats, and flowers. What you want is legacy shapes and more. So to get that, you go to the little burger bar in the top right corner, you ask for legacy shapes and more, and it will give you this folder. Inside legacy shapes and more, there are all the legacy default shapes. There's a bunch of other folders as well, but if you just go to the shapes, there's very cool kind of geometric shapes you could use. If you wanted a crescent moon, simply click and drag it out there. Okay. Now, it is not going to do the automatic radial symmetry, so what I would say is you'll want to design everything on the top layer, and then you can group it and rotate it as shown in the other window. But take a look at all these fun different things that are in there. There are even modern symbols. You feel free to hide anything you like in there. We have under symbols, yeah, those are the ones I was just in. Talk bubbles, tiles, web symbols, but most everything you might want. Maybe a fleur-de-lis would be fun to have. Right, these cool little design elements. You can bring them in and then start to rearrange them to fill out the decoration on your design. Okay, so I'm going to pause the video here because most of you, once you get your face done, you'll be able to handle the rest of it on your own, because everyone's idea is going to be different. We're all doing the same project, but everyone's solution will be unique. So I look forward to seeing everyone's work.